Welcome in. It is Sports by the Book Football Frenzy on a Thursday. It's week 4. How the time just blows right along as quickly as
Or you know
possible.
we're going to be at 12, and then this regular season's going to be over.
Don't say that, man.
Oh my goodness!
Come on,
Goes so fast.
He's right, McCormick. I'm Jeff Parles. I'm not gonna let you get down the vibes here, McCormick. Not gonna happen.
No, week 4 to stay.
Yeah, week
7
4.
days.
Well, you did pick multiples of 4, which I found interesting. There. Fun show as always, getting you ready for week 4 in the NFL and a college game tonight.
Yep.
It's an American Athletic tilt in Philadelphia between Temple and Army. We'll give our little preview in about 15, 20 minutes from now. But of course, also Duane Colucci joins us at 3:40. Always a fun time. And Ryan, there's no better place to start, but at the Meadowlands tonight, the New York Football Giants, fresh off their first win of the 2024 season, they welcome the division rival, the hated Dallas Cowboys in those parts. Cowboys right now 5.5. That just moved not too long ago. It was at 5 most of the day. This is the highest it's been here at the South Point. Not the highest it's been in the market because there's been a bunch of 5.5, Ryan. But from 5 down to 4, now 5.5. The total's gone up a point from 44 to 45 on this one.
You had mentioned the Giants got their first win on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. They are now looking for their first back-to-back Sunday to Thursday win since 2014. They are looking for their first Thursday win since 2015.
Okay.
They are looking for their first Thursday win or first win since versus Dak Prescott since 2016.
Okay.
Looking for their second win versus the Cowboys in the last 8 years and the second primetime win under Daniel Jones in 15 starts. It's impressive, huh?
Is any of that good?
No, not at all.
The Giants haven't beaten Dallas since week 17 in 2020. That was not a good year for the Cowboys or the Giants either. They ownage, complete ownage in this rivalry in quotes with the Cowboys and the Giants. Even the year the Giants made the playoffs,
there's just something about New York teams getting owned by their division rival, huh?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Orioles.
Sorry, the Jets stray there.
I don't know. The Jets have won 2 in a row.
Yeah, no, I know. They've corrected it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ryan.
This could be the turn of the tide for the Giants. We never know.
About. That's a 2-game winning streak for the Jets in that rivalry. But just looking at eyeballing this game, just going generalities first before we really get into our plays.
Okay.
On the surface here, let's just go with this. Dallas beats the bejesus out of teams like this. Teams that are just not particularly efficient offensively, which even though Malik Neighbors is the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football 3 weeks.
As we all expected.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on in fantasy football. Juwan Jennings had probably the best game of anyone the entire season last week.
And Brandon Aubrey would be the tight end 1, the wide receiver 4, all these different kind of stats for a kicker. So
might need to get rid of the kickers again, but that's okay. Or not in actual life, in fantasy football. That's all I'm saying. Kickers are people too, I know that. But we just mentioned a lot of these numbers. 9 out of the last 10 for Dallas against the Giants. 13 out of the last 15. They haven't beaten Prescott since 2016, like you said. It wasn't Prescott and played in the last week of 2020.
Yep.
This is just a matchup that the Giants can't handle. And not only that, Ryan McCormick, the Giants are without multiple people in their secondary, including Adoree Jackson, who's their best corner tonight. This just screams bad all the way around for the New York Giants. And then also you have to add in the fact that Dallas has lost 2 in a row and has looked awful doing it.
Yes, they have. But you mentioned Adoree Jackson being out for the Giants, so I kind of anticipate this being a big game for CeeDee Lamb. He is a plus 550 to score the first touchdown tonight, which I may or may not, I did, put together a same-game parlay of at least 6 catches, over 70 yards, and he scores the first touchdown, and it's 8-1.
I feel like you should be doing better than that on the 8-1.
Yeah, but I do expect a big game from CD tonight.
So you mentioned Lamb props. Let's just go there first for within the props, and both of us have some angles here in this game tonight. Lamb, 6.5 receptions. These numbers via DraftKings. Shop around. You can do better with juice, whichever side you're going in at some shops. Minus 120 on the over, minus 110 on the under. Again, don't like that it's minus 115 both sides, but What do you want from some of these books at this point? 81.5 receiving yards, juice to the over. And then, as you mentioned, DK has plus 550 on that opening touchdown of the game going to CeeDee Lamb. And look, Phillips is also at the second corner for the Giants tonight. Deshaun Watson, after the first throw last week, was really unable to do anything. Part of that is that Deshaun Watson is washed. Part of it is that Cleveland lost 40% of their offensive line in the beginning throughout the game, and they were already down.
Yeah,
they're already down Jack Conklin in that game to begin with anyway. So they were 60% of their regular O line was gone by the end
we
of
got
that
to see a little bit of the Giants' pass rush actually show
finally,
up. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns finally getting to see what that tandem would look like against an offensive line that couldn't stop them. But tonight for the Cowboys, we've seen that they have had the holes losing their offensive line pieces. So I do kind of expect the Giants to be able to do what they did last week on defense. I went and looked at the averages for both of these teams. So the Giants defense allows 132 rush yards per game, 187 pass yards per game, and 21.3 points per game. If you compare that to the Cowboys offense, they are averaging almost 60 rush yards less per game at 74, almost 90 more pass yards per game at 270, and average 25.7 points per game. If you compare Giants offense to the Cowboys defense, the Giants offense is rushing for 105 yards per game, 190 pass yards per game, 15 points per game. Not very good.
No.
The Cowboys allowing 186 rush yards per game. So good for the Giants offense when that's your focal point. 132 pass yards per game. Daniel Jones is going to have to step up with that one going against Trayvon Diggs. But they're allowing 29.7 points per game, which is not good. It is bottom 3 in the National Football League. And the Giants do have a little bit of momentum coming off of that win against Cleveland. I do expect them to be able to do stuff against the Cowboys defense tonight.
If you want to go a little bit deeper on the Cowboy struggles against the run,
sure.
Nearing 6 yards per carry against New Orleans allowed. That was the Kamara, obviously, had a gigantic day in week 2. Last week against Baltimore, Derrick Henry
finally
had 6 yards a carry. That was over 6 yards a carry again for the Ravens in that game. You mentioned that the Giants not overly efficient on the ground, but if you're going to have a shot to pull the upset tonight, you have to just take advantage of what this rush defense is not.
Yes.
And last week in Cleveland, look, Singletary had the majority of his yards on the last carry. He had 38 yards on the last carry. Before that, it was 15 for 27. They were not efficient on the ground at all. That last carry popped them to 4 yards a carry, which you and I both know is basically average, even slightly below average in the NFL at this point, with the way this renaissance of running the football has come back in the league. But the Giants are going to have to find a way to be efficient on the ground tonight if they're going to stay in this game. Ball control, having the majority of the possession time, is going to be critical if they're going to have any sort of shot of pulling this upset. Daniel Jones played well last week.
Yeah.
He didn't turn the ball over, which is what you can have. All you have to ask for from Jones is if he can play clean football, he at least gives you an opportunity to win games. I'm not saying he's going to win many of them, but it's at least an opportunity if he's not turning the ball over. Malik Neighbors is a stud. He is every bit as good as the Giants could have hoped through 3 games. And this is a secondary for Dallas where, Diggs is back. Bland is back there. This is a ton of boomer bust back there. Yep. This is always what Dallas has been. They will turn you over because they take chances. They will also give up big plays because of those chances when they miss on the turnovers. So maybe a few deep shots to Neighbors. They are going to have Darius Slayton tonight, which was unexpected, but it looks like he's good to go as well. Sure. But I don't think Jones will play clean football tonight. That's the big reason that I like Dallas in this game, especially at the 5s that were out there. If you had 4 earlier in the week, great job. I do think Dallas is the correct side tonight, especially coming off of those dreadful performances at home.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you had mentioned that Daniel Jones needs to take care of the football. Mm-hmm. If you look at him in primetime games, I had mentioned that the Giants are 1-12 straight up in primetime. They are 0-9 outside of Sundays in primetime matchups. So Mondays and Thursdays, not so good for the G-Men. Their last primetime win was December 18th of 2022. Since then, they've lost by 31, 40, 18, and 21. So not close games for the Giants in these primetime lights. Daniel Jones, you had mentioned that he needs to take care of the football. In Sunday games, afternoon games, he's averaging a half a turnover or half an interception. So an interception once every 2 games.
Okay.
Primetime games, he's averaging 1.4 per game. So almost 3 per 2 games. So he's going to need to correct the ship in order for the Giants to stay in this game tonight, or they're going to have to rely on Devin Singletary, whose rush prop is at 59.5. So with the Cowboys allowing the 3rd most rush yards per game in the National Football, or being a bottom 5 defense, rush defense in the National Football League, I like the over for Devin Singletary tonight.
Just going to the Cowboys rush attack real quick, which has been an abomination so far this year, worse than the NFL.
Yeah. Rico Dowell finally took over the job.
Yeah, yards per game and yards per carry, they're worse than the NFL from the running back so far this year. As you mentioned, Dowdle's going to be the number 1 back tonight. We know what Rico is. He's a backup running back, and the fact that he has to be the starter, again, long term, I hated what Dallas did in the offseason. I had no problem with them letting Pollard go. I get it. Injury, coming off a massive injury, was not the same after the broken leg he suffered in the Niner playoff game 2 years ago. Was not the same at all last year. I get it. But they had to do better than this, of ancient Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle, who is a number 3 running back on most teams. Ryan, I will say this probably is the night if you're going to want to go over on Dallas running back rushing totals. Those numbers are so astronomically low that it's probably okay to do it. Dowdle at 39.5. You have missed the best of it. It was 36.5 earlier in the week. Elliott, you also missed the best of it. It was 22.5 at the bottom. Now it's 25.5 predominantly in the market. I still think those numbers are okay.
Okay.
Because this screams blow. If this game is a blowout tonight, what is Dallas going to do in the fourth quarter?
Exactly. Yeah.
They're just going to try to drain the clock. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to run it probably, honestly, more so with Zeke than they are with Dowdle at this point. That I can't find any Deuce Vaughn numbers, which is unfortunate because that would also be another guy I'd look to play. But this is if the Cowboys can't get right against this giant rushing defense as well. Again, there may not be much hope for that run attack to begin with. It's going to be on Dak's arm and CeeDee's hands for the most part this year for Dallas. But this would be the night that I look to attack some running back props on the Cowboys side, just because these numbers are so low for number 1 and number 2 running backs that are probably going to be about a 65-35 split tonight.
So we had talked about it pre-show. This is the first time in Cowboys franchise history that they are playing on a Thursday with 3 days rest.
On the road.
On the road.
On
Yes,
the road.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Yep. On the road. So with that being said, do you you don't anticipate there being kind of that, the durability concerns from the short rest from last week, having to play the Ravens, and now you're going to hand it off so many times?
So I'd be more concerned about the durability of the defense. More, That would be the unit I'd be most concerned about, because what happened last week with Baltimore, they just lined it up and ran it down your throat.
The Ravens looked like themselves in the first half.
At least until they stopped playing in the fourth quarter when the game got tight for no good reason. Credit to Baltimore for actually putting together that last drive to run the clock out after they kind of just
almost
basically like, all right, we're done here. We're up 28-3.
Almost gave the game away like they gave it to the Dolphins last year.
Yeah, and then the game against the Rams, even just against the Raiders, not on that scale, but still. But this is, to me, Ryan McCormick. Again, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, if the Cowboys are worth any sort of damn this year, they go to New York, they win this game comfortably, they cover the numbers, and more so than anything, again, prop-wise, I'm not a huge prop player. Looking for the running backs here tonight. Honestly, if you're looking giant receiving props, of course, Neighbors is 6.5 on the receptions, juiced under, 71.5 on the receiving yards, juiced over. I would avoid Neighbors completely tonight. That's a very high number, especially again, he's had a really good start to the year, but I don't really want any of it. The guy I'd look to is Wan'Dale Robinson. If we're going to go down the board, look for 3.5 receptions. The problem is most of his receptions are now 4.5 juiced under, which I really have no interest in playing. But if you can find a juice 3.5 to the over, I would be comfortable playing that tonight. That would be the only receiver prop I'd look to on the Giants side.
What about a touchdown prop? on the Giants side.
Just
Singletary, Neighbors.
I think you got to.
Like
I think if you're going to do it, you just do Singletary.
Okay.
I think that's just the way.
Yeah, I'm good with
that
that one. I like that one.
Don't love the fact that in most books you're laying even the smallest of prices, but you are laying a price.
Yep.
I don't like doing that unless if it is just kind of like a McCaffrey situation last year where he was scoring every single week. We hope you're doing okay in Germany, Christian McCaffrey. We hope you're okay. But that would be the only Giant I would look at. The shot on the Dallas side is Brandon Cooks. I don't even think that's a debate.
Okay.
Caught one in week 1. That would be the way I'd look. I think he should have the same number as Jake Ferguson, and Jake Ferguson's about 85 cents shorter than Cooks. You can get approaching 3-1 at some shops on Brandon Cooks. I think that's worth a small little dabble if you want to go on the Dallas side, Ryan.
Okay. I'm more on the Giants side.
Yeah.
Slightly.
You taking Bellinger tonight?
No, not. I've lost a little bit betting Daniel Bellinger to score touchdowns. But
Ryan and Daniel Bellinger are friends. Are friends for people
played
that
together
don't
in high
know.
school. Yeah, known each other since high school. Yeah. So, the one I would look at is Theo Johnson. His receptions are 1.5. He's kind of taken over that pass catching role. So if it is going to be a blowout like you think it is, I do think Theo Johnson would get the over. Getting those receiving looks for the Giants. Not so much on the Daniel Bellinger train for this one.
Yeah, again, the Giants' offense is still not a good offense. That's the other, even with how well Neighbors has played. Again, and the weird thing is that the Giants had a kicker, they'd probably be 2-1 right now.
That is true.
They totally screwed themselves in week 2 with the Gano situation. But they, again, right now, 2-1 or 1-2. Both of these teams. Look, one of these teams will be 2-2, unless if we get the elusive tie tonight. If that happens. By the way, Ryan, I actually bet this week that there will not be a tie in the NFL this year.
And this year?
Yeah, for the whole season.
Okay, what was that price?
I gotta double check my my app here because I don't remember the plus price.
The entire season. When was the last time that there was no ties in the season?
I don't remember. Where is it? Where did it go?
We're gonna figure this out.
I gotta find it now. Where did it go? There. No, not there. I got about plus 280 on it, Ryan.
Only seasons to finish without a tie are 2015 and 2017.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. If it was a small bet, but we're already 3 weeks in, and the price hadn't changed much from what it was at the beginning of the year. So that was
it's a fun one to root for.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
I mean, why not?
Anytime a game goes to overtime,
there it is. Well, it's actually down. It's actually down to plus 250 now. So, who knows? Man, I wasn't the only one that maybe hit it this week.
You got on at the right time.
No,
didn't blink.
Yeah. All right. We'll circle back to this game a little bit later. Of course, we'll have Duane Colucci in about 20 minutes from now. We'll get behind the book perspective, and we'll have more plays as the numbers and the injury reports officially come down, even though we have a pretty good sense of who's not going to play already tonight. Really, the Giants secondary, the unit that is depleted in this game tonight. All right, to the college side of things. Army goes to Philadelphia to take on Temple. Temple, you're not going winless. They beat Utah State, and kind of jarring how many play. The fact that Temple nearly put up a 50 burger on Utah State last week, more of an indictment of Utah State more so than anything. 45-29 last week. Temple won that game at home. Army's 3-0, and they've been pretty darn impressive doing it as well. Now, I know it's not the greatest opponents, but all right, you beat Lehigh by 35. All right, whatever. FCS team, not a particularly good one. They went to Boca, and really, it was 24-7, that final over FAU. That game was not that close. No. They completely crushed FAU in that game. And then last week against Rice, back at Mikey Stadium, 37-14, that game was 28-0 at halftime. That was a total beatdown, while Army still had the foot fully on the gas pedal. And now to go on the road, it is a tricky spot after covering 3 straight games for Army. I understand that. But this is a Temple team that is still, even with the win a week ago, one of the worst teams in America. I was hoping, as I mentioned on the show this morning, that we'd see an 11. That is not going to happen. 12 is probably where this thing sits until kick at 7:30 Eastern time. I don't love laying double digits with service academies, especially not at home. but this would be a time where I think you can be a little bit comfortable with it. I just have a hard time seeing Temple's defense, which has struggled and has already faced the Service Academy this year and did not have a fun time with Navy.
No, they did not.
And Navy and Army, to me, are pretty darn even this year. Maybe that works to Temple's advantage that they already saw an option offense once. I don't think it does. I think it works the other way. Army puts in a few wrinkles, and I think that's a big problem for Temple tonight.
Yeah, I am right there with you. I've actually already laid the points with Army. Their ability to run the ball and Temple's ability to stop the run, complete opposites.
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, I guess Army's really good. Temple's really bad at doing it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Army has won each game this season by 17+. They're rushing for 356 yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
Temple is allowing 221 rush yards per game. So
they're not seeing option offenses every time,
too. Army's rushed for 5 yards per carry in each game this season. They're averaging 6.3 across the entire season. And then Temple is allowing 4.4 yards per carry in each game, up to 5.4 for the season. So Army's running all over in my mind.
12 right now for this one. Again, Lincoln Financial Field, the site. Again, the Owls and play at the home of the Eagles. Well, be a little bit different than when Army was there last. Of course, the Army-Navy game it goes between Landover, Maryland, the Meadowlands, and Philadelphia. All right, we will take a quick break. When we get back, Ryan McCormick and I will unveil our NFL Top 10, our power rankings heading into Week 4, and what other games are catching our attention going into this weekend. That's next. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grandview Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in. It is Sports by the Book Football Frenzy. Jeff Parles, Ryan McCormick. Ryan,
yes, sir.
As always, our chat is open for you watching at home.
Yeah, our chat is open. We've got Agent 87 in there asking if the Giants tonight are the Jags against the Bills on Monday.
Oh,
I don't see it being that bad.
I don't think it will be that bad either, and that's a pretty low bar to get below from what we saw on Monday. Look, credit to Buffalo, and we'll talk about Buffalo in a moment in our power ratings, but boy.
I liked the under in that game, and the Bills did it by themselves.
Well, you know what? So, I don't think your handicap was bad. It's just that Buffalo vaporized.
Yeah, there was nobody on the field for the Jags, it seemed like. So I don't see that being the case for the Giants tonight. But if anybody else wants to chime in the chat and let us know their feelings on games, or if they have any questions for Duane Colucci later in the show, we will we will get those out there. So let us know in the chat.
Absolutely. Please, if you got anything for us, we'll do our best to answer. And, of course, Duane will be coming up in about 15 minutes from now. So any questions from behind the counter that you may have an interest in knowing, and we'll see if Duane can answer them for everyone. All right, power rankings. Let's go to it. Ryan, this was a lot more movement than I would have liked this week. Thank you, Bengals, on Monday night. KOing again most of the survivor pool. If you're still alive in your survivor pool, congratulations. This is a hell of a job if you're still alive through the bloodiest 3-week period, basically in the history of survivor, period. All right, let's start with it. I'll go number 10 real quick here. 9 through 12 jam-packed together. Baltimore squeaks ahead of Pittsburgh on the virtue of the fact that I don't care that the Steelers are 3-0. The Ravens are still the better football team despite being 1-2. And quite frankly, if the Ravens either keep the toe in or don't choke away a 10-point lead, we're probably talking Baltimore in the top 4 right now. But because their inability to close games and then it almost rearing its head again, intangibles do matter, at least for me. The coaching, that goes under coaching for me. So number 10 on Baltimore right there. Houston coming in at number 9. I was looking for reasons to pull them out. That offensive line is shaky, very, very shaky. Pressure rate is nearing 35, 40% on C.J. Stroud so far. They were awful on Sunday. Minnesota just really kicked their behind all 60 minutes. And there are some reasons to worry about Houston. A bad injury report today. Tank Dell didn't practice for the second straight day. Nico Collins gets added to the injury report. We already knew that Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce were likely not to play this weekend, but there are a lot of question marks on Houston right now. I still have them at number 9. I still think what I had them going into the year, and the fact that they still won their games in the first 2 weeks, I still think they're in a scenario number 9. Number 8, welcome to the top 10. For the first time for me this year, the Minnesota Vikings in at number 8. I almost put them higher. And I know our boss, Chris Andrews, has them in the top 5.
Yes, he does.
But I just, when you're dealing with journeyman quarterbacks, and I've said this on the Jets podcast that I do with Jake Asman once a week, that Sam Darnold, if Adam Gase was not the hire after they fired Todd Bowles, Sam Darnold would still be the quarterback in the New York Jets.
Okay.
I still think he'd be there right now.
Interesting.
And Darnold, look, Darnold, when he protects the football, this has been the deal with him his whole career. When he's protected the football, he's been a league average quarterback. And right now he's doing even more than that. That coaching staff in Minnesota is awesome. O'Connell, I don't know why people got on him. I guess because they were the ultimate luck box 2 years ago. But man can coach. And Flores, we know, can coach defense. We're going to learn a lot about Minnesota next 2 weeks. At Green Bay, assuming Jordan Love's going to be back, and on a London game against the Jets, 2 teams that are popping up soon on my list. So we're going to learn a lot about Minnesota. 7 is Philadelphia. I just have them down here because they're battered with injuries. I would have had them a little higher if they were a little healthier. Lane Johnson's in concussion protocol. Devontae Smith's in concussion protocol. We have no idea when we're going to see A.J. Brown. And Nick Sirianni, oh my goodness. That game he coached on Sunday, I mentioned it on Monday. It was the worst game I think I've ever seen from a coach that won the game. Worst game I think I've ever seen coached. He got every decision wrong, every single one. And the Eagles were still able to find a way because New Orleans, I think, might be pretty fraudulent after what we saw a week ago. Number 6, Jordan Love's back. I'm operating under the assumption he's back. So your beloved, Ryan's staring daggers into me. I can feel him. The Green Bay Packers coming to number 6. You know, you go 2-0 with Malik Willis as your quarterback. That says a lot about your team and your coaching staff. And Matt LaFleur, we got taken off the scent because of, it was only Aaron Rodgers. That was the only reason this team was elevated as high as they were. Now it was because they not only had a top 3 quarterback, they had a top 5 head coach. And that was an amazing combination they had in Green Bay. Look at how Love has improved also. He was one of the bottom 8 quarterbacks in the NFL the first half of last year. By the end of the year, he's one of the top 8. This year, you lose him after game 1, which was a coin flip loss anyway, and you win 2 games with Malik Willis, who's as bad of a starter as we've seen in the league in a long time. And not only that, Willis looked pretty damn good last week. Great coaching staff. Defense is vastly improved now with a real coordinator in Jeff Hafley. This is a team that's going to be a real force moving forward now that Love's back. That NFC North is pretty darn good. And if Chicago ever figures themselves out, if that is going to be the best division in the NFL, like I said before the season.
Yep.
Ryan McCormick. Number 5, New York Jets are in at 5. Dominant. Showing the only team who was favored by more than 5 points to win outright last week. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Everyone else lost. That's a big favorite a week ago, causing that chaos. Look, if Aaron Rodgers is what we saw on Thursday, look out.
Yes.
Look out. Because as I said before the year, you take away the team logos and you just put the rosters down, the Jets would be considered a top 5 roster. And the only reason people like to detract it is because of the logo on the side of the helmet. History does work sometimes. I don't think so with this team. If they go out and blast Denver this week, I might be moving them up again, even though I have Denver power rated super low. I'm stubborn on the Niners. I have them at 4. A lot of injuries. They look to get a little healthier this week. Looks like Kittle's going to be able to play. If Duane Johnson turns into a legitimate number 3, he looked like the best receiver in the NFL last week. Yeah. But there's just so many injuries, more defensive injuries as well. Bosa's not 100%. Samuel's probably not yet ready, even though he showed up at practice. Who knows if we'll see Christian McCaffrey at all this year at this rate. But look, as long as the Niners win this week, they don't even have to cover against New England. Just get back on the right track and get the ship steered correctly, because if not, this could turn into another 2020 for them where everything just went wrong. Number 3 is Detroit. There's really not much to say. I didn't think they were great last week again, but you know what? They won and covered on the road. They're not an easy thing to do in the league, and we're going to learn a lot on Monday night when they play undefeated Seattle, who, yes, is not in my top 10. Look at the teams they played so far this year. They go to Detroit and win, I can guarantee you they'll be in my top 10 heading into next week. There, Number 2 is Buffalo, just slightly behind Kansas City, who's in at number 1. Look, the Bills, if we're just going off of what we've seen so far this year, they're clearly the number 1 team. But you still have Patrick Mahomes, even though he has not been at his best so far this year. And you still have a team that's won back-to-back championships with the best coaching staff in the NFL. And they're 3-0. Kansas City still slightly ahead of Buffalo. If you want to put Buffalo just on what we've seen so far this year at number 1, I can't argue it. They have been awesome. But I am curious, playing Baltimore this week, up in competition, how do they handle it?
Yeah. Well, getting into my top 10, my the 10 spot's kind of been a death spot the last 2 weeks.
Yes, it has.
The Saints losing and then the Cowboys losing the week before. But number 10 for me is going to be the team that I've had in my top 10, I think, every week this season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know that they just lost to Denver. They didn't have Vita Vea and they didn't have Antoine Winfield Jr., so they're 2 best players on defense, and they just didn't look like themselves on offense. I don't expect that to stay the case going into this week and the remainder of this season. So I still like the Tampa Bay Bucks. I do think it's going to be a great game against the Eagles this weekend, and it's going to be a very telling game for the top of the NFL or top of the NFC.
No concerns off that performance last week?
Not really, just because I do think they were missing their 2 biggest pieces on defense. And when you're missing Vita Vea, who is
beast,
the stopper in the middle of your defensive line, that is a massive hole that is not easily filled at all. But number 9 is the team that the Tampa Bay Bucks go into this weekend, is the Philadelphia Eagles. For the same reasons that Jeff said, they do have the injury bug. Nick Sirianni has not quite figured things out going into this year, or shown this year. And Saquon Barkley, we're finally seeing what that offense could look like with him. We're going to get A.J. Brown back, but for now, the Eagles are my 9. At number 8, I have the Houston Texans, and I wish that I could put them higher and because of their capabilities on offense. But as Jeff said, they are hurt pretty much everywhere on their roster. But I still think this is a dangerous team that can put up 35 points whenever they put the time in to do so. But at number 7, I've got the team that just beat them this past week, the Minnesota Vikings. You have to put respect on their defense and Brian Flores, what he's doing, confusing Brock Purdy in week 2, confusing C.J. Stroud last week. The Minnesota Vikings look like they are the real deal, and I wish that I could put them higher, but I need to see them do the same thing that they've done this season, this weekend in Lambeau. That is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. And if the Vikings can do it, then they've proved their spot in this rankings for me. Number 6 is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. We finally got to see what this offense looks like with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the first half last week. Tempered down in the second half and in the fourth quarter. They did not. It really felt like the Cowboys figured out how to stop it, or the Ravens just lost what they were going after and almost gave that game away, which they've kind of shown that they have a tendency to do recently. Number 5, I'm going to have the San Francisco 49ers. They are bitten by the injury bug, and it's just because of where they're at right now that they are at the number 5 team for me. They are a very dangerous team, but the injuries are what kill them, and that's why I have the New York Jets at my number 4. With a healthy Aaron Rodgers, this team looks good, and we finally got to see a healthy Aaron Rodgers. I know it was against the New England Patriots. Third time's a charm. But the Patriots are banking on their defense, and the Jets showed that they had no problems going through the Patriots defense. So my top 3 is the exact same as Jeff's. I've got the Detroit Lions at 3, the Buffalo Bills at 2, and the Kansas City Chiefs at 1. The Lions are going to have a good test on Monday night against the Seahawks. They're debuting, bringing back their black uniforms, so I do like the Lions on Monday night to kind of disprove what the Seahawks have done so far this season. The Buffalo Bills, for the same reasons that Jeff said, they've looked dominant in every game. They absolutely dismantled the Jags, making it look like no one was on the field for them. And you have Josh Allen, who's the second best quarterback in the NFL. And number 1, you have Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, because they are the best coaching staff. They are the best offense in the NFL. I know they lost Isaiah Pacheco and are going to be without him for probably the next month. But if it was the Chiefs and Bills playing next week, I'm still taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's interesting. That rivalry has been Buffalo wins in the regular season and Kansas City wins when it matters.
Yep.
Right now, I'll say this. Most books that have MVPs up, Josh Allen is the favorite.
Which
through 3 weeks,
rightfully
100% correct.
Yep.
He should be the favorite. Him and Mahomes are basically the only guys who are shorter than 10-1 right now. Again, I will just preface this with MVP betting. We have a long way to go.
Yes, we do.
We have a long way to go. And as
going into last week, we were looking at Derek Carr. Just talking about it,
Even just last year, just forget, like in the past where Russell Wilson was odds on through week 9. He didn't even finish in the top 3 during one of Rodgers' 2 MVP seasons recently. Last year, Brock Purdy, remember, is minus 260 going into Christmas night. San Francisco gets pummeled by the Ravens. Lamar Jackson's minus 500 the next day. So there is so much time in the MVP race, even though if Allen's going to play like this for a full season, it's going to be very hard for anyone. It's going to be very hard for anyone else to win it, especially since I know the voters are going to look for any extra reason to give it to Allen. And if he plays like he has, he will have earned it and deserve it 100%. All right, before we get to Duane Colucci in a few moments, Ryan, I just want to go real quick to a few NFL games this weekend, and there are a bunch of injury-related games that we can talk about, but I want to start with the Jags and the Texans because we both had the Texans in our top 10.
Yep.
And the Jaguars are 0-3 and look awful doing it as well. Blowing a big lead at halftime against Miami. 1 touchdown against Cleveland in an 18-13 loss. And then the coup de grace, not in a good way, 47 points to Buffalo on Monday night.
Yep.
And, Ryan, this is 6.5 in this one behind us. There's a lot of 6 in the market now on this. Texans, of course, favorite at home. I got to make the case for the Jags real quick.
Oh, please do.
Okay?
Because I will not.
So look at the injuries on the Houston side. They're going to be without their top 2 running backs again, more likely than not. Both Pierce and Mixon didn't practice again. Doubtful for this weekend. Tank Dell didn't practice 2 straight days. That's their number 3 wide receiver. Nico Collins is now banged up, apparently. He was listed with a leg injury today, limited in practice. Now, I'm not saying Collins isn't going to play. I'm saying Collins will be banged up when he plays on Sunday. Houston's offensive line has been abysmal so far this year. They're in the bottom 5 of pass rush allowed. Stroud was running for his life last week. And the one thing I will say with Jacksonville, they didn't show it on Monday, but I think that was also just Buffalo at their absolute best, and I don't know if anyone's beating Buffalo at their absolute best this year, especially in that building.
Yeah.
But they still have 2 elite pass rushers with Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker, who up until last week, the first 2 weeks of the year, looked really good and looked the part of a number 1 overall draft pick. You got embarrassed. You're 0-3.
Yeah.
Your season, if you lose this game, I know they have the annual win against Indianapolis at home in week 5, but you have to get this game if you're Jacksonville. And if you don't, coach might be getting fired.
Yep.
The season goes completely off the rails. I'm not saying they win the game, but I'm getting almost a touchdown here with Jacksonville.
All right.
That's pretty hard to pass up.
Yeah, I think you
And if
sold
Houston
me.
blows me out, so be it. Then the Jaguars really stink, Ryan McCormick.
Yeah. I mean, I think you sold me, but division matchup, Titans being battered like they are, I guess I could see the 6.5, but when you watch the Jags, they genuinely looked non-existent on Monday night. The Bills scored at will, did anything they wanted to at will, really. And Trevor Lawrence has not looked anything like we were promised when he was drafted. And Doug Peterson has taken that steep drop-off since getting the Jags to the playoffs. So it would be, this one's a stay off for me, but you might have sold me on the 6.5.
Yeah, we'll see if this gets to 7 again.
Yeah,
I don't think it will because of the injury reports on the Houston side. All right, I want to hit one more here. That's another injury-related one, and I know it's one you wanted to talk about here, Ryan, and that's Philadelphia and Tampa, where Tampa, of course, last week was just battered injury-wise.
Yep.
They look to be healthier this week. Vita Vea did practice today in a limited fashion. They also got other defenders back in practice this week as well that were out last week. The Eagles, no practice for A.J. Brown. Not expected to see him.
So, I lean Tampa.
Bucky Irving dinged up a little bit as well. It looks like he'll play. He is questionable right now. This is a playoff revenge game, too. This was one I crossed off once A.J. Brown. I'm assuming we don't see A.J. Brown at least for another 3 weeks at this rate. But, boy, I would only lean the way you're leaning, especially off of getting embarrassed. I mean, that was embarrassing by Tampa last week. That game was never competitive against one of the 3 worst teams in the NFL in your own building. I don't care that your defense was battered with injuries, but, my goodness, you can't get blown out by Denver at home.
Yeah.
Just can't happen.
But the Eagles have their bye week next week.
Yeah, there are a bunch of early buys next week, Ryan McCormick.
And the Bucks have a short week going to Atlanta
Yep.
on Thursday. So could be a look ahead for the Bucks and nothing to look ahead for the Eagles. So they could be all in on this one.
All right, we'll take a break here, and when we get back, we'll have Colucci. We'll have Duane Colucci when we get back here on Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books, 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our Sportsbook, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the Racebook, Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in. Sports by the Book Football Frenzy on a Thursday night. Getting you ready for the G-Men hosting the Cowboys in the Meadowlands tonight. He's Ryan McCormick. I'm Jeff Parles. We're thrilled to be with you as always. And now joining us, see, you got Colucci. I had to at least get in the Chris Berman G-Men thing there. Duane Colucci with us right now. Of course, race and sportsbook director up at the Rampart in Summerlin here in Vegas. Duane, you have blue on, so you got both teams covered tonight, even though I know where your rooting interest will lie tonight.
That's why I hate that G-Man stuff, man. I love Chris, but don't get me wrong. I mean, but G-Men, forget about it. Especially when they're playing the Cowboys.
Oh,
but good game. I tell you, tonight, the way Dallas is limping in, guys, this could be a competitive game because the Giants looked very good last week. But, it's still Daniel Jones. One offensive weapon to throw to. I mean, Dallas really needs to right the ship here, guys. It's starting to get a little tired. I think Dallas needs to win these games. It's very important, so we'll keep an eye on it.
So, Duane, let's just go with the action on tonight's game. Since the beginning of the show, it's gone back down to 5 here and up at your shop. Total has only gone up a point from the opener. It did touch 45.5 ever so slightly. But you just mentioned it. Dallas totally limping in here. The Giants got off the schneid, won that first game. What do you think tonight? And also, how have the bettors liked this game up at your shop?
Yeah, we took that big bet earlier in the week, guys. It was 22,000 on the Giants +5. So it came back down to 5. It went up to 5.5 as we started to get the ticket count up there on the Cowboys. I'm still looking. It's a 3-1 ticket count on Dallas, but yet the money isn't that far apart. Jones looked better last week. I'll put it to you that way. But the level of competition that the Giants have played is a little suspect, whereas Dallas, played a very tough New Orleans game in week 2. And last week, you knew the Ravens were in a do-or-die situation, and you're talking about one of the NFL Super Bowl favorites. So it wasn't a discredit. It was just a discredit for 3 quarters the way Dallas played. They started to get motivated real late in the game, guys. So that was a good sign. You saw Dak was able to pick apart that defense real late, and it wasn't so much of a prevent as Dallas started to get closer and closer, but they still gave up that key first down when the game is on the line late. So the defense is definitely under suspect. Our new defensive coordinator that everybody raved about is doing a horrible job since week 1. And, there's a lot of pressure on McCarthy. We know Jerry is still pulling all the strings, which is such a disappointment. When he is going to rein it in and take a back seat is beyond me. I mean, we have 2 enormous contracts out there, and they can't get on the same page. I mean, Dak Prescott always seems to be jawing at it back and forth with CD Lamb, and we have to rectify that. You have to get that out of the way. So it's very understandable why the Cowboys are the favorite here, because on paper, they're a much better team. And you could tell, but, if they can't control Jones's legs and, you start to get the ball to the kid out of LSU, who's looked really, really dominant, especially last game, it's going to be a long night for the Cowboys. Plus, you're going to have that massive crowd rooting against you. But on paper, Dallas is a much better team. They have a 2-prong running attack. It's yet to be seen if they're going to throw Cook in there, but definitely they have some useful running backs. They have a decent wide receiving core. I mean, you got Cooks on the other side. That's definitely a proven veteran to go along with CD, a super tight end. So, if Dallas can control the line of scrimmage, use Dowdell right and Zeke, it could be a different scenario where they come out just blowing the Giants out and dominating them. Last year, they were able to seal the Giants very easily, just control that running game, and that was with Saquon Barkley. Now you don't have Saquon. You only got Daniel Jones. It should be an easy victory for Dallas, but I can't say that, and that's me as a Cowboy fan and a bookmaker. I'm telling you, they don't look all that great the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they may not look great, and you had mentioned that the Cowboys, you're seeing 3-1 on the tickets in favor of the Cowboys, but you and Jeff both seem to think that the Cowboys could get up early in this one and run away with it. Have you seen any action on the alternate spread of Cowboys minus double digits?
Yeah, definitely. We always see some alternate spread action there, Ryan. That's a good point. And especially with a team like Dallas, who, if they can blow this game open, they're right there in the NFC East with the Eagles. You want to keep pace with the Eagles, and especially the way the kid looked for Washington the other night. They definitely are going to turn the corner, and they have a bright, bright future, especially with Jaden Daniels. He looked fabulous. He was breaking all sorts of rookie records the other night. And, if this kid really starts to become a superstar, the division becomes even tougher. And that's why, the Giants are at the bottom of this division, and they really are not a good team. So Dallas has to send a message here. And alternate point spreads are definitely an option, Ryan, when you're dealing with a game like this, especially divisional rivals, when you're seeing Dallas as a 5-point road favorite. You also have some action on the Giants on the other end of the spectrum. So we're getting good two-way on that, and always get some good proposition wagers. Chris does a fabulous job putting up that menu, him and his team. And, especially in a game of this magnitude on a Thursday night, we're getting some superstar handle, and, it's going to continue up until kickoff. Like I said, Dallas -5 currently at the Rampart and South Point, and the total of 45.
Duane, let's go to the college game tonight real quick. Army goes to Philadelphia to take on Temple. There's actually, there you go. We found an 11 at another shop so far. You guys are still at 12, Duane. Imagine that may come down in a few moments. But before that, it's been pretty much mostly Temple action to begin with anyway, Duane.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of Temple action, but the ticket count here also, is almost 2-1 in favor of Army. So you have all those teasers and parlays on the favorite, laying 12. But like you said, you're seeing a lot of the shops around town come down on this game. So, I'm seeing some 11.5s, even an 11 out there. So, we're definitely the highest, and we will take a pop. But I also see a 12.5 out there. So this game is all over the place. Not a marquee matchup. Army is 3-0, so they're definitely the darling of this matchup, and I could see most of the teasers and parlays being on this team, but it's a high point spread without a doubt. These are two mediocre teams at best.
Well, so I'm gonna go to Saturday. I'm gonna go to the biggest game on the slate, Georgia and Alabama. Alabama is a home underdog for the first time since 2009. Was that the correct year?
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing there, Duane?
We're seeing some good two-way action. It's the initial response. I mean, this is a great matchup. You have Georgia as a road favorite in Alabama. No more Nick Saban. Alabama has looked pretty good, thus far. We're sitting at 1.5 currently at the Rampart and South Point. Money and ticket count are nearly exact. So this is going to be a great two-way action game. We have a big Alabama clientele at the Rampart, so maybe that's going to sway a little action. Our handle has been off the hook, and a tremendous credit to what we do here at the Rampart and South Point to please the customers, taking the larger wagers across the counter. And I'm seeing some good two-way action, Ryan. I'm looking at it right now. It's nearly identical on the ticket count. Like I said, 49.5 on the total. This is going to be a great matchup. I think Georgia is the slightly better team. And, it's just all according to how this home field is going to play out in this SEC Titanic matchup.
I want to bring up one other college game before we shift back over to the pros, Duane, and that's Notre Dame, who, of course, took that ridiculous loss at home to Northern Illinois a few weeks ago. Now they welcome Louisville, and Louisville's undefeated. They seem to be one of the better teams in the ACC, and the bettors don't seem to care about that because it's been one-way traffic on the Irish here, 5.5 to 7, and that's market wide at this point, Duane.
Yeah, and the money is 5-1, Jeff. So, it's more about the money than the ticket count here. Yeah, they're definitely disregarding what the opponent Louisville here is bringing to the table. So, this is going to be an interesting matchup. Notre Dame did play a terrible game earlier on in the season. Hopefully they will, continue on. We'll be rooting for Louisville here. Don't get me wrong. But, it's always good to see when you have these marquee teams up there. It only creates more and more handle in my perspective. It's better if Notre Dame, Dallas Cowboys, teams like that are good as opposed to losing terrible games. This is a game that we did open at 5.5, like you said, Jeff. So, all the money is getting plied on Notre Dame, teasers, parlays. Ticket count is nearly 2-1 as well, but not quite there yet. But like I said, the money is almost 5-1. So, they're blindly betting the Irish in this situation.
All right, back to the pros. Going to Green Bay. The Vikings in Lambeau opened Green Bay -2, is now Green Bay -3. Is the public buying into what the Vikings are doing, or are they seeing Jordan Love coming back and taking it over from Malik Willis?
It's a tough spot, Ryan. I'll be honest with you. Regardless of what the public thinks, in my opinion, it's definitely going to be difficult. Jordan Love stepping right into this Viking juggernaut, as I call it. I mean, Sam Darnold has really learned a lot from his time in San Francisco, his time in Carolina, his time with the Jets, wherever he was, especially in San Francisco. I think this kid really matured, and he's finding all of his options, whether it's Jefferson, whether it's Naylor. He's got so many different weapons on that team, and they're definitely playing at a top level. Now, Jordan Love is definitely the quarterback that Green Bay wants behind center. He had that slight injury. I would have sat him as well. LaFleur did a good job with that. Green Bay is definitely right there. You saw their accomplishments last year down the stretch. They were unbelievable. They played so well, and we could honestly see right now we got a 2-1 ticket count, even more on the Vikings. Vikings are getting 3 going to Green Bay. It's always a tough spot for Minnesota. I think Green Bay has a chance, but Minnesota is playing lights out right now, and you could get 3 points in this game. I think we're going to get some tremendous two-way action. I don't think people are going to, just doubt on the Vikings immediately and think Jordan Love could step right back in and take control of this division. Most of these divisions, guys, in the NFL have been backwards this year. You could see it. Teams that we didn't expect are leading. Everybody thought Buffalo would have a down season. They're tremendous. Outside of the Chiefs, everything's been a shocker. San Francisco has been come right back down to earth after that blowout of the Jets on opening week. And the AFC East is definitely one of those divisions where, like we said, you have a lot of flip-flops. NFC East, I call it the NFC least, but this Central Division is definitely difficult when you have the Bears, the Vikings, the Lions are right there. This is a great division, and this is a big matchup. It's going to be one of the higher-handled games on the slate.
Duane, you mentioned Buffalo, and this will be the last one before we let you go here today. The Bills on Sunday night go to Baltimore. The Bills are 3-0 and have been the most dominant team in the league so far. The Ravens are 1-2, beating your Cowboys last week. Sorry, Duane. But you guys are 2. The rest of the market's at 2.5. There's not a real difference between 2 and 2.5, Duane.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the truth here. The ticket count, Chris is booking it perfectly. We're almost 2-1 ticket count on the Bills. The money is high on the Bills, so we're seeing Bill action. That's why it's only 2. I'm sure the sharps will come in and take advantage of that if the game starts to get to 2.5 and maybe even 3 at other shops. But this is a very difficult matchup. The Ravens have not impressed this year. Even down the stretch there, they almost blew that game last weekend. Now, granted, it was on the road, but Lamar did look a little better. They're starting to use Henry a lot better. They have to play ball control against the Bills, force Allen to make the mistakes that we know he is capable of making, but hasn't so far this year. They've definitely been the most impressive team and surprising team, in my opinion, in the AFC thus far. Despite the Chiefs running the table, the Chiefs got lucky in that game against Cincinnati and definitely lucky against Atlanta. So Buffalo has been the pleasant surprise. And, I know the Buffalo fans and the Bills Mafia are chomping at the bit here. That's why we're seeing a tremendous amount of money on Buffalo early on, but I do believe the Ravens will come out on top in this game. I think they're going to play ball control. You get back to that smash mouth football at home. Lamar Jackson, the 2-prong attack. It's going to be difficult for Buffalo to maintain this undefeated record, especially playing a schedule as difficult as they have.
He's Duane Colucci, NYBookie Duane on the tweets. Of course, you find him up at the Rampart Race and Sportsbook Director up in Summerlin at the Rampart. Duane, pleasure as always, man. Thanks for hanging with us, as always, on a Thursday.
Love it, Jeff. Love it, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. Definitely appreciate it. And let's go Cowboys. How about that, Cowboys?
Great talking
Thank
with
you very much, Duane. Always a pleasure. All right, Ryan, before we go here today, again, right now it's 5 and 45, 5 on Dallas, favorite on the road, 45 on the total. You're liking CeeDee Lamb to have a big night. I'm saying the Dallas running backs won't be pitiful tonight. I do like Dallas to cover this number. I'm not strong enough to make a even a 1-unit play on this. This would be the win a half unit for me tonight if I were to take Dallas. But the bigger plays would be looking to those props. looking at the running backs of the Dallas side to finally have at least a league average day on the ground?
I don't know. There's just something about this one. I'm feeling the Giants.
Oh, okay.
I know everything says Cowboys. Everything says Cowboys big, but there's just something about the Giants right now coming off that win in Cleveland and hopefully righting the ship for them. So,
all right.
We'll see.
We'll see how it all plays out tonight. Cowboys 5-point favorites against the Giants. We're back on the network tomorrow. Of course, big day here on the network. Starting with Race Day Las Vegas at 7 in the morning on the South Point studio page.
Yep.
Sports by the Book with Kenny White getting you ready for the weekend at 9 a.m. Then myself, Ryan McCormick, and Frank Nicotero all here for Punchlines at noon. And then at 2 o'clock, Football Frenzy on a Friday. Myself, Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews, Jimmy Vaccaro, all here. The best. I love all of our shows, but when those guys are in, it is the absolute best, and you learn a ton every single time, every Friday for 2 hours.
Else. Yep.
Yeah, 2 hours, 2 to 4. We'll be ready to go for it. Ryan, good work as always. Ann and Jerry, thank you very much back there. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you again tomorrow. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy.